Hello everybody, you're welcome back again to the Reggae Appreciation Society, and in today's video we're taking a look at the dynamic dancehall duo of Chaka Demus and Pliers. In 1992, a very unlikely duo burst onto the reggae dancehall scene, comprised of a rough baritone voice DJ named Chaka Demus and a sweet smooth sounding vocalist named Pliers. They would come together to create one of the most successful duos in Jamaican music history. They not only broke into the charts in different continents, but also broke a lot of records while doing it. In addition to their great musical talent, they also carved a niche for themselves within the dancehall scene, where other icons were very loud and explicit in their lyrics on matters ranging from sex to violence. Chaka Demus and Pliers were more inclined to less controversial areas like love, celebrating women, and just having a good time. It's been 30 years since both men became a duo, and they've become so intertwined that it's very hard to recall that both men had decent solo careers. In a partnership that has been one of the most peaceful in the music business, the exemplary relationship is built on a foundation of genuine friendship, deliberate suppression of their egos, and a solid spiritual background. Let's take a look at the dynamic duo of Chaka Demus and Pliers. And we begin with Chaka Demus. He was born John Taylor in the Waterhouse district of Kingston, the fourth son of 7 children. He was a regular schoolboy until political violence terminated his education when he was in the 9th grade. The two political parties in Jamaica, the PNP and the JLP, were at war with terrible casualties in the streets. So his father made him stay at home as he lived in a PNP neighborhood but schooled in a JLP area. He spent his days at home, glued to the radio and record player, listening to music, and developed a lot of interest in performing. One night, U-Roy's sound system, King Sturgav, was holding a dance close to his house, and he wanted to attend but had no money, so he got a plan to get to watch the show for free. He went and asked the promoter if he could come in and pick empty bottles, and was allowed in. That night, many popular DJs were on the billing, such as Ranking Joe and a popular toaster named Nicodemus. It was Nicodemus in particular that blew his mind and made him decide to become a DJ, and he named himself Nicodemus Jr. The violence in the tough Waterhouse district where he lived forced his mother to send him and his elder brother to stay with an aunt in the Papine area of Kingston. Whilst over at Papine, he began to try his hands at toasting with a sound system called Roots Majesty. He turned out to be so good that they retained him as a full-time DJ, and he began to perform with the sound system all over Kingston and began to get a large following. One day, a fellow DJ told him that he was so good that he was no longer Nicodemus Jr., but now Chaka Demus. When the violence in Waterside began to die down, he went back home and began to DJ with a different sound system in his neighborhood. One day he got a message that popular producer King Jammy was asking to see him. He went over to King Jammy's studio, and King Jammy gave him an invite to come and perform at a dance that evening where a sound system was to play. He made it to the show and totally mashed up the place, and Jammy gave him a job as one of the DJs alongside established names like John Wayne and Nitty Gritty. After a while, he got to record his first single, Increase Your Knowledge, followed by the song One Scotch, a duet with fellow DJ Admiral Bailey. As his popularity grew, he also did work with a few other sound systems and producers. And his next single, Young Girl Business, became his breakout single that shot up to number 1 on the Jamaican charts. He followed up with big hits like Worky Worky, Teach Them, and Special Request. And by the end of the 1980s, Chaka Demus was a big star in Jamaica and among the most respected DJs. Pliers was born Everton Bonner in Rock Hall Hills, St. Andrews district. His parents were musically inclined as his father was a drummer in the church and his mother was blessed with an amazing singing voice. While attending school in Rock Hall, he identified his 3 main dreams and passions. The first being his desire to become a soldier. The second was boxing, and the third was music. He figured out that Jamaica would never go to war and noticed that all Jamaican soldiers did was shoot at rude boys in the ghettos. He also figured that there was no opportunity to get into boxing, thus leaving him with the only way he saw out of poverty in Rock Hall, which was music. He sold his goats and bought a guitar, which he started using to practice at home. And when he was 19, he had recorded his first demo and started looking for studios to record, as well as sponsors in the music industry. He hustled hard to get his demo heard, shopping it to various studios, and even tracked down Peter Tosh to play a song for him, hoping to get hired somehow. He also tracked down Jimmy Cliff, who heard his demo tape and handed him over to a producer, but that still didn't go anywhere. He got introduced to Yellow Man, who took him to different producers, and he eventually got to record his first song at one of the studios. The song, Babylon Are Brutalized, began to catch on and get airplay. And while Pliers made no money from the song, he was glad to be getting some exposure. He began to perform with a sound system in Rock Hall under the stage name Blues Melody, and he caught the attention of popular sound system in Kingston called Scorpio, and they hired him as their in-house DJ. While performing one day, someone in the audience christened him Pliers. He didn't like the name, but when Scorpio started producing records of his performances under the name, he went along with it, and the name stuck. His popularity kept growing, and he continued recording with Scorpio and other producers, releasing songs like Bias Them Bias and Snakes in the Grass, as well as Bam Bam, which was a remake of a Toots and Metal song from 1966. He also recorded a song called Murder She Wrote. By 1990, he was a well-known artist, playing in concerts not only in Jamaica, but also doing gigs in the US. He had built up a huge following and had many fans, and one of those fans was Chaka Demus, who had bought every record of Pliers that was ever put to wax. Chaka Demus strongly believed that Pliers was a superstar, but was not getting rhythms that were good enough to really bring out the best in him. He also felt strongly that both of them would make a great team, and began to have ideas of a duo. They got to meet one day in 1992 at the US Embassy while processing their visas for a show in New York. After the show, Chaka Demus, who had a performance in Florida the next day, told the promoter to invite Pliers, and they eventually performed a freestyle together, which was the high point of that performance. They got back to Jamaica and met in the studio to record their first song, Gal Wine, which became a big hit and shot up into the top 10 in Jamaica. Their chemistry was on fire, and the duo was officially born. They worked on a number of other songs that went into the album of the same name. And that year, they also made their debut at the Reggae Sunsplash at Montego Bay. 1993 was the year that the duo would break into the international limelight when their single Tease Me burst onto the charts in many countries. It did particularly well in the UK and stayed on the chart in that country for 3 months, peaking at number 3 and selling 300,000 copies. Their 1993 album, also titled Tease Me, also did well on the charts. The biggest song in the album was the smash hit called Murder She Wrote, produced by Sly Dunbar and Robbie Shakespeare. The track Murder She Wrote is one of the most popular dancehall tracks of all time. If you weren't there, it's difficult to describe the impact it had on dance floors everywhere. It was and still is one of those songs that gets people running onto the dance floors in parties, nightclubs, weddings, and even living rooms on an average day. It helped to propel the duo to international mega stardom and pushed the Tease Me album to number 1 on the UK charts, where it stayed for 2 weeks. Another single on the album, Twist and Shout, also went up to the top of the UK charts by early 1994, making Chaka Demus and Pliers the first Jamaican act to top the UK charts in 8 years, and the first to have 5 consecutive hits. Their third album, She Don't Let Nobody, came out in 1995 and reached number 4 on the official UK charts. They followed up with their fourth album in 1996 called For Every Kind of People, which was a moderate hit compared to their previous 3. At that time, they were the biggest dancehall acts on the planet. Audiences around the world couldn't get enough of them. They took a break from recording new material and focused on touring, headlining concerts from Europe to the US and Asia non-stop for years. It took them a while, but in 2001, they returned with another album called Help Them Lord. The duo has since released numerous compilations of their biggest songs that still sell well and seem to excite both old and new fans. They are set to release an album to mark the 30th anniversary of their partnership this year. And the dynamic duo is still going strong and are exemplary role models of what a musical or any other kind of partnership should be. Their strength is firstly their loyalty to one another, genuine friendship, and a non-competitive attitude that has kept them up there as one of the longest running reggae music acts in music history. So there you have it. Thank you for watching the video today. Please leave a like, subscribe, and until the next time, God bless.